Hey, Mom Nation, Katie
Hi. And Beth.
here,
Hi.
and so we had to be in two different locations today, and
It's a little weird.
it is a little bit weird being in two different locations, isn't it? I didn't get to give you a big hug.
Yeah, I know. It's sad.
Right, but gotta love technology. We're using technology so that we can still deliver the message today.
Yes.
Since it's been what, a month since we've last done this?
It's been a month.
Been a month.
Crazy with the holidays.
Exactly. So just to catch you all up, we are doing this more than a mom type meeting between Beth and I, hi, and sometimes littles, and basically just discussing self-development, self-enhancement, and kind of both Beth and I have been through quite a journey in this area, and so we're just bringing y'all with us, right?
Yeah.
Basically.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. And with that said, please share your opinions and comments and anything else that you think is relevant, or even if it's irrelevant, we'll talk about that too.
Yes. Sounds great.
So just to recap, it's a little delayed on my end. So I'm sorry if it seems like I keep interrupting you, Beth.
Oh, you're fine.
So, and then you can hear my text messages come in. I can't shut that off. Oh, well. So just to recap, we are reading the book, The Four Agreements. It's the first, there you go. Awesome. Thank you, Beth. It is the first book that we're reading. And we've already discussed the first two agreements, which number one was be impeccable with your word, super powerful. And number two was don't take anything personally. So without further ado, let's introduce our third agreement.
So agreement number 3 is don't make assumptions.
And this one is a huge one. Like, just let that sink in for a moment. Don't make assumptions, like any assumptions.
Ever. Like, don't assume you know what somebody's thinking, or that what somebody's doing is about you, or that what somebody said means something when it might not mean what you think it means.
Exactly. So this has been a pretty powerful one. Right?
Daddy.
Hi, sweetie. This has been a pretty powerful message for you this week, right?
Yeah, it was kind of ironic that this was the chapter we were reading, because my husband and I have had a couple of disagreements the past 2 or 3 weeks, and I am coming to realize that I don't communicate with him as well as I think I do, and that I'm not clear with my communication with him like I thought I was. So I was making an assumption that he understood what I meant, that he knew what I was talking about, and I was making an assumption that he could read my mind, and he can't.
No, absolutely not. Not even, no matter how long you've been married, no matter how much time you've spent together, that is just an impossible act.
Yeah.
And so do you have any, and if you're not comfortable sharing, I totally understand, but do you have any specific examples of that?
So some of you moms may know this, but I struggle with anxiety and depression, and I was kind of in the middle of an episode on our way home from our Christmas trip, and I was driving, and I was in an unfamiliar area, so I didn't really know which direction I was supposed to be going. So I asked him if he could pull up directions to our house from where we were at on his phone. I was just like, hey, can you pull up directions? Well, he thought that meant, yeah, like, give me directions. So he was trying to tell me where to go, and he gave me like 3 directions all at the same time, and I couldn't process them. And I was like, no, I really just need you to pull up directions. And so it turned into this huge fight because we were both stressed and tired, but I needed the step-by-step, one at a time directions, and I needed it to be spoken to me one at a time as I was getting to those places, like your GPS does.
Right.
In order to feel like safe in where we were and safe in my driving. And he thought I just needed to know how to get home. And so we both thought I needed something different. And I was so anxious I couldn't clearly communicate what exactly I meant. So he was giving me what he thought I needed. So that was kind of an interesting experience. We ended up talking about it later after we were calmed down and realizing that we both do it. Like, we both make assumptions about what each other needs or what each other means when we say things. And we've made an agreement with each other to take what's said at face value. So if I say, can you pull up directions? He knows, okay, pull up directions instead of just give directions. And then likewise, when he's giving me directions, I can more clearly say, thank you for your directions. What I really need to feel safe is this. So instead of just repeating myself, I have to give him why I need what I asked for, if that makes sense.
That's a great point. And then saying it differently as well, because we all know the English language, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yet certain words mean different things to us, even if they're the same word.
Yes. Completely true.
And that's probably a whole conversation in and of itself. So that's a great example, Beth. And so what I'm hearing is basically find the courage to ask questions, to express what you really want, and communicate with others clearly so you can avoid misunderstandings and the sadness and drama and anger and fit pitching that goes along with that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think as a society, we've kind of become scared to ask questions because sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I was growing up and I would ask questions, like, I could tell the person I was asking questions to was getting annoyed. Hello, like, moms get asked a million questions every day, and we get annoyed when we get asked the same questions over and over again. So then you grow up and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can ask questions. Like, maybe that's going to make them upset, right? This is just dawning on me right now, by the way.
And so that's such a good point, and I'm sure that's happened to everyone, and I'm sure even as moms looking at our interactions with our kids every day, yeah, I get a lot of questions, and there's some times when I just roll my eyes and I'm just like, what? You're right. We are possibly training our children to not feel comfortable and to have anxiety and fear to get to the bottom of what it is they really want, and that is going to hinder their communication.
Right. So it's just occurring to me that we need to be comfortable asking questions and not be worried about the reaction we're going to get from somebody else from those questions. But also when we're being asked questions, we need to make sure that we're just answering them clearly and not getting annoyed. So it's a two-way street there that we can work on.
Yeah, that's a big one. And why do you think that annoying feeling comes up? Is there an assumption or an expectation in there?
I don't know, probably. I mean, assuming that somebody, like, example, my kids ask for something like the same thing over and over again after I've already given them an answer, and they assume I'm going to change my answer, and I assume they know the answer, so I get annoyed that they keep asking, right? I've started recently saying, okay, I've given you my answer. It doesn't matter how many times you ask, my answer will still be the same.
Good point.
So that has helped for both of us, because then they stop asking for the thing that they want that they can't have. Usually it's something like candy or chocolate. And I've made it clear that that is my answer, and my answer does not change. And so then there's less assuming going on. Like, my answer's not going to change if you ask me 20 million times.
Right.
And also being calm when I answer instead of getting annoyed, because now they know, right? There's been more clarity there instead of just, no, not right now. It's, no, my answer's not going to change.
And here's why.
You need to keep asking. Here's why.
Right.
I will tell you if my answer changes, but you don't need to keep asking, right? So it's interesting, like, the way that assumptions work too, because I think, so I'm in a sales job, which Katie, you know this too, like selling homes. And sometimes we make assumptions about what our clients want or need. Yeah. And instead of asking them more questions to get more clarity, we start giving them options, and that might not be what they actually wanted or needed.
And then they might feel not listened to.
Right.
Even though that's not what you were doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So just imagine the day that we stop making all of these assumptions, how relationships will change, especially with our partners. Because I think we've all run into this. Oh, well, you've been married to me for X amount of time. You should know. Like, you should be able to tell that when you get home from work, I want you to walk over to me and give me a hug and a kiss, like, before you do anything else. You should know that.
Yeah. Or you should know that if dirty dishes are on the table, they need to be put in the sink.
Exactly. So no matter how much we know that or how much we think they should know that, what does it hurt to be clear and say, hey, you know what? When you come in, can you do me a favor and just, it would be great for me if you could just walk up to me and give me a hug and a kiss before you do anything else.
Right.
Or if you see dirty dishes on the table, if you could pick them up when you're on your way to the sink or when you're on your way by, that would really help me out.
Yeah, it's as simple as just making a request or giving knowledge. Like, my husband didn't, in this experience I had with my husband, he didn't know I was having an anxiety attack. And that's why I wanted him to pull up directions. And it could have been as simple as me saying, hey, I'm having an anxiety attack right now. But instead of saying that, I just bypassed that and said, hey, can you pull up me directions?
Mm-hmm.
Could have avoided everything had I started with, hey, I'm feeling some anxiety right now. It would help me a lot if you could pull up directions on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and
much more clear than what I said.
Right, and tell them to me like as if Siri would.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I think sometimes we want to shorthand our speech with people, and when we do that, we can't accurately express ourselves. Like, we think we're saving time by not saying everything that's in our mind for a particular situation, but we kind of shortchange the other person when we do that. Like, is this making sense?
Oh, are you asking me?
Yes. I feel like I lost my train of thought. So
no, we're trained like that. So think about social media, immediate gratification. Email, as soon as an email dings, I've received how many text messages since we've been on this call, and all I want to do is go, oh, what they say, let's respond back. So we're
right.
Like, fast, immediate gratification, quick, let's get it done is just in our culture now.
Yeah. I think part of not making assumptions is slowing down. Like, we don't have to be go, go, go all the time. Sometimes we can slow down and sit down and have a conversation. And how much better would that make our relationships with each other?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about the crazy things that happen in the world. How much different would those issues be if people sat down and just had a conversation?
Exactly. You'd probably eliminate all violence. You'd probably eliminate all hurt, all drama, all misunderstandings. Wars would probably be eliminated, because really, think about what a war is.
A disagreement.
Right. Instead of coming together and saying, well, here's how I feel, here's what I want, here's how you feel, here's what you want, where can we come together in this?
Yeah, where's the compromise?
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's definitely one of those things where, like, the more I'm reading the Four Agreements book, the more that I'm digging into it and the more we're discussing it, the more that I just want everyone to know about it and everyone to read it, because I think it would solve so many problems.
Well, think about just, speaking of social media, think about just in our everyday lives when, a friend or somebody makes some sort of weird, vague post on Facebook, and then all of a sudden you've created this entire story in your head about how that's about you, and then you've taken that personally, so now you're like angry in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps you respond in that manner and probably cause a whole big disagreement or a whole big thing.
A whole drama.
Where there may never have been one, and now, like, your day's lost and you've cried a bunch and you've lost friends, and all you needed to do was be like, hey, Sally, did you post that because of me? Because that's how I feel.
Right. And Sally would be like, no, that wasn't about you. I'm so sorry. Here's what it actually was about. Right? That's what friends do.
Right. Or, no, that wasn't about you at all. And let's talk about something else, or hey, how's that play date, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I just feel like the biggest thing is just having that courage. And, you know, this can be in other areas of life too, not just necessarily in relationships, whereas in relationships, we see, you know, we see the problems very readily. But just a quick example of mine is for years, like the last couple of years, like ever since I had my son, I've had really bad adult acne. And I just thought, that's just me. I just have really bad adult acne, pregnancy changed my body, whatever the case may be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't go to a dermatologist, and I didn't ask questions, and I didn't do research. And you know, probably a bit of that is fear, a bit of that's embarrassment. I mean, it's pretty embarrassing to walk around with big, giant, I had like the under the skin cystic acne, you know, big, huge, like I had a second head basically most of the time. And so I ended up going to the doctor for it, and well, not for that, but for some other things. And she said, okay, just tell me everything that's going on that's bugging you. And I ended up telling her about that, which I didn't intend to when I first got there. It's not why I went. And we figured out, we did some blood work, and we figured out that my testosterone levels are through the roof, and my estrogen levels are very low, and that needed to be regulated. And so I'm on like this whole natural supplement. It's awesome, actually. And I have been for about the last 4 weeks, and I have some scarring still, but it's from old stuff. And I haven't developed anything new. And it's been 4 weeks, so I've been through a cycle, if you know what I mean. And usually my cycle would set it off. So even just right down to that. Now, I was suffering. I was anxious about it. It was very bothersome to me, not only because I was self-conscious about it, but because it hurt.
Yeah.
So I actually had, like, you know, physical pain as well. Had I figured that out 3 years ago? Just about asking questions.
Yes. Being clear and asking questions. I think that is what this whole agreement boils down to.
Yep. Just don't be fearful to ask somebody. I don't know why, as a society, well, maybe it was exactly what you had discovered earlier in this conversation, which I think is just phenomenal. I never thought of that. We were probably trained at some point in our lives to not ask questions.
It's programmed into us.
Yeah, those programs, man, they are deep, real deep. So,
yep.
All right, so what's our next agreement, our next and final?
The next agreement is to do your best. Always do your best.
I love that one. And I'm excited to talk about that one. So there are no holidays between now and the next time we'll appear live to discuss that one. So we will see you in
2 weeks. Sounds perfect. I'm so excited.
Me too. All right, MOMnation. We'll catch you later. And bye, Beth.
Bye.